Greetings, friends.
My name is Steve Kelsey.
And I'm Ron Leota, and this is The Roles We Play, the show about the roles we play in the games we love. Hey, everybody, and welcome to The Roles We Play. I'm Ron Leota. With me here is Steve Kelsey. We've come back for part 2 of Icons in Gaming, and we're really excited to bring you the rest of this episode.
Yeah, if you missed part 1, it'll be down in the description on the YouTube, and of course on the Podbean site, you could just scroll up.
Yeah. Like, if you can't Google where this stuff is, I'm a little disappointed in you,
honestly.
but we'll keep throwing the URL out because we're professionals.
It turned out we were a little too talkative for one short episode.
Shocking.
So, I know, right? Completely out of character for us. We're in part 2 about video game icons, and let's get back into it. Do you feel like an icon can be deliberate from a studio out the jump?
Oh, absolutely. There's been so many. I think the appearance of failed icons is proof of that, especially in the early days when platform icons were the #1 thing. Like, who gives a shit about Bubsy or whatever?
But
yeah. Like, that was Bubsy Bobcat or whatever was supposed to be this huge
icon.
like this is going to be a console seller icon like Sonic and Mario, and he had like 2 or 3 games that all faded into obscurity, and you may know that name if you watch a lot of YouTubers who bitch about old video games.
Yeah, or like just show you fun. If you watch Donkey, you'll know it.
Right.
So let me think. What are some other ones? There was. So weirdly enough, and this is weird only because I think they didn't understand what to do with the property, and this happens a lot. So Crash Bandicoot is an icon in the way that everybody knows who Crash Bandicoot is. He's been in a number of games and everything, but he's not an icon in the sense of, say, Mario, in the way that he doesn't have continuingly great games. But that might change after the re-release of all the original trilogy. Original trilogy of Crash Bandicoot was done by Naughty Dog, who of course made the Uncharted series and the Last of Us games. So there you go. But yeah, he was a deliberate attempt. He was a come straight for Nintendo. His whole ad campaign was about coming straight for Nintendo. But weirdly enough, I think that more so than Crash, though they weren't trying to be the console icon, I think that are you
gonna say Ratchet and Clank?
Yeah, I was gonna go with Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah,
Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, and Sly Cooper were all pretty much this package of platformer squad. Like, if they'd released in 1991, there'd been an animated show where all of them hung out together and everything. And yeah, the PlayStation 2, like, Sony was whipping out icons without knowing it, and then they didn't focus on that. That wasn't their main focus. But they were whipping out potential icon franchises.
I mean, if we're going to talk about potential franchise icons, I want to at least give a shout out to Conker and his Bad Fur Day.
Oh, yeah. Conker, absolutely.
Like cult classics, but not
classic.
Iconic.
Yeah, let's get into that. Let's talk about potential icons, because we know a studio can attempt to release one. We don't know that they can do it. I'm going to stop playing with that.
Yeah, maybe.
Let me just fuck with the mic a little bit. We know a studio can attempt, and they can succeed or they can fail. But let's see. Let's talk about some icons that could have been there, but they just didn't have the juice to get all the way there.
I think, as just mentioning them already, Conker, if Nintendo was willing to back him at all.
Oh yeah.
I think Conker could have done great things so if you don't know what Conker is, he's a anthropomorphic squirrel creature who wakes up from a gnarly night of drinking, and it's a crude game with implied nudity, a lot of swearing, a lot of just adult humor, but all presented in that art style like you're playing a furry version of Mario 64.
Yeah, it's very much in the Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64 kind of like look, aesthetically. And it's great, and I definitely agree Conker could have been there. Some other, okay. Because they put this down. I believe that Kane from the Legacy of Kane series that came out on the PlayStation, and this is kind of a deep cut, but third-person action game, PlayStation 1, definitely where God of War, Bayonetta, and you know all and of course Devil May Cry, definitely on the journey to that kind of a game. There was Blood Omen, and then there was Legacy Kane 1 and 2. And they were good games, but they didn't quite have the sales, I think, to keep on. And that could have been one of your, like, Metal Gear kind of, like, level icons where it's more of, like, it's less of an iconic character like Medieval, say, was going for, and more of just a game series that just kept going and releasing.
See, I don't know that Kane could have been the icon from that series. Raziel.
Oh, Raziel. Yeah,
Raziel could have been the icon. Raziel, like, had they played up on that goth merchandising and got that shit into Hot
especially
Topic.
when those games came out, yeah.
Oh, yeah, had they played up on that enough, Raziel could have definitely been an icon. I mean, because he's just... at the time, it was during that time everybody wanted the brooding protagonist.
Yep.
So you're talking about, you know, demon-looking vampire whose jaw was torn off and now he eats souls. Like, it's every edgelord's dream wrapped up in a really great game.
Yeah, I love those games. And
oh, yeah.
I played the shit out of them, and now...
I played so much Soul Reaver, dude.
Yeah.
That's too much, honestly. I didn't have a lot of games growing up, so, you know, when I had a game, I played it too much to the point that, like, I probably should have done something constructive with my time, like learning how to speed run, but instead I just learned where everything was.
And just enjoyed playing in the universe. Other potential icons. Nintendo doesn't have a lot of failures in this boat.
No.
They tend to be very cautious. Ooh, you know who's an icon? This is completely out of step.
Sure.
But you know who's a potential icon if they just keep him as the protagonist through the series, starting really just the two of them, Leon and Sonia, the two Resident Evils 1 and 2's protagonists.
Leon and Jill.
Yeah. But their potential where it's like it doesn't hurt that almost all of the best Resident Evil games have featured them.
Well, it's always been Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Leon Kennedy, and what's the other one's name?
I don't know.
Chris Redfield's sister, who's the protagonist in 2, which I'm playing the remake of, and should know this because I'm playing.
Obviously, she's not iconic though. You know her name. But Leon. So Leon and Joe Valentine specifically. Leon especially because he was the protagonist in Resident Evil 4, which was like the biggest Resident Evil at the time. They just would. If those games had kept those two, it has the Belmont problem, right? Where they kept moving protagonists around so you couldn't have an icon. Or if it had just been one of two, you'd be like, yeah, it's those two every time.
It's the Silent Hill problem, too. I mean, it's like there are plenty of iconic creatures from Silent Hill. You see Pyramid Head, you know what that is. But, like, what's the names of the protagonists of the first 3 games?
And just to make this, you have way too much content to cut down. Let's talk about that. You mentioned Pyramid Head, which the moment you mentioned Silent Hill, mind went to Pyramid Head.
Right.
Most iconic.
The
character.
nurses.
The nurses in Pyramid Head are like they just are. Let's talk about iconic villain characters, not bosses, because bosses or iconic non-player characters, not bosses. Because bosses are easier. Mario has Bowser, right? Like, if it's a popular game series, it's going to have a boss that's probably iconic as well.
Yeah.
If the protagonist is an icon, the villain is probably also an icon. That's normal. But so you mentioned Pyramid Head. Who's like boss-ish, sub-boss, sort of like amorphous thing.
Yeah.
Appears a lot, but like, and mini bosses are fine. Mini
The
bosses
embodiment
are,
of the main character's violence in himself.
Yeah.
you know.
Like he's a plot boss, but he's not like the like a Bowser, right? He's not a nemesis boss in the way of him being a separate entity. But like, what am I thinking? So yeah, so like these can be allies or enemies, but they can't be bosses, but they are iconic. Like the people see them. So like Mario's filled with it because the series is is stupid big. So like pretty much everything from Mario goes on the table, right?
Most things from Legend of Zelda.
Most things from Legend of Zelda. So yes and no. I think Legend of Zelda is, because they redesigned them so many times, not aggressively, but enough. I think that they have a number of things, but it's not like Mario where it's like, what do Goombas look like? Well, they look like three-dimensional versions of what Goombas look like, right? Koopa Troopers, they look like three-dimensional versions. They've made no play on them. So there's lots of Zelda things that I think go there.
Okay, fair enough.
But I don't know if it's quite as prevalent as the Mario category. I'm trying to think of a Zelda creature that I would definitely put.
The Gorons.
The Gorons. Yeah, the Gorons.
Gorons have remained pretty static.
Yeah, they're big, like lumpy boys.
Yeah.
I think over time, and especially if they keep if the sequel to Breath of the Wild, whatever its Majora's Mask is going to be, so that's what that is. If the sequel kind of stays with the same like look and area and feel, and it's just a bit darker, and then they're smart and they don't hew too far away from that in the next game, I think pretty much all of the alternate races of Zelda will get locked in people's heads. As it's like, oh yeah, it's them, that's these people.
It's the bird ones and
it's the bird ones,
the fish ones,
it's
the
hot
rock
fish.
Ones. Yeah,
it's the hot fish people. It's the hot bird people. These alternate races are hot. And there's
that race of all attractive brown ladies.
All attractive giant brown ladies.
Games.
We're not going to go into me and my internet art search dive.
Of the Garuda.
Of the Garuda Village Amazons.
Delete history.
It got. I'm both large and tall, right? I'm both big and tall, which makes big and tall shops useless for me. You'd think they want tall or big. They do not like to combine. They're like, oh, you have a 40-inch inseam? 40-inch inseam? You must have a 28-inch waist, right? Like you're made like a stick man. Going through those games, I still remember. I didn't seek it out. I'm just like doing that, and then there's this like little comic about that's not lewd, but it implies something with one of the giant fairies, and I'm like, oh, is Breath of the Wild like super horny? And then I looked immediately on the internet and found where the horniness lied in the game.
Yeah.
What are some other games that have like iconic sub bosses or enemy characters like?
Mega Man,
right? Mega Man. Oh, tons of them. Wily's iconic. Most of the Robot Masters from the first 3 games, at least, and Mega Man X.
Dr. Light, Roll.
Yeah. Like all of the Mega Man series, they did a really good job at simple design characters to make you remember things. And they have like no talking for any of the Robot Masters and Rush Jet.
Although my headcanon in like every time I play Mega Man now, I can't play it without thinking of the story that was developed through the Megas albums.
Oh yeah.
So now I'm like
that is what's happening.
To me, Mega Man has such a larger pantheon of like,
meaningful, devastating. Mega Man definitely has.
Here's a paragraph of text at the beginning and the end. Enjoy it. There's your story. You kill robots.
Dragon Quest, the little slimes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are super iconic. Dragon Quest has kind of gotten out of hand. If it had the same protagonist every time, that protagonist would be there. But
most of the Mass Effect crew who stayed through.
Honestly, almost all the Mass Effect NPCs, arguably more so than Shepard, because you can customize Shepard.
Yeah, Shepard is different. My Shepard could have been a like sociopath dude, and your shepherd could have been like, the like trying to save the universe, great person, lady character.
That is 100% what my shepherd was, because I can't not be the big damn hero.
Unnamed characters that are totally iconic. I'm sorry, I know we're jumping around a lot, but this
That's
just
fine.
came to me, and I've got to rep a series I love. Saints Row, the boss.
Oh, the boss is super iconic.
Saints Row is one of the only games you can be a 500-pound transgender Samoan if you want, and you're still an iconic character.
Oh, Saints Row is
You can
so
be
good.
anything you want in Saints Row. Well, we can skip one. But at Saints Row 2,
Saints Row 2 forward,
anything you want.
Saints Row 1 was just a GTA clone and everything. Saints Row 2 started spicing itself up a lot. And then
Saints Row 2 looked at Saints Row 1 and people were like, wow, the thing that really made us stand out was the wacky stuff. People really responded to that.
Can you just do that? And by Saints Row 3, it's like, it's out of control now. Villains that are kind of like iconic villains that are up to the level of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's me, Dio. You're like, Dio, of course.
Yeah, it's like you, without dipping into the pantheon of like Nemesis type people. 'Cause, you've got like your Ganons and your Lynx who are going to go through time but like, it's failing me, but there are a lot of little characters from all sorts of games that have become icons in their own right.
Yeah, that have become their own sort of thing. Lots from the old 8-bit eras, because those characters had to be rendered iconically and memorably because they didn't have a lot of room. And then some from continuing franchises. So like you mentioned Mass Effect, right? Garrus from Mass Effect is like the ultimate companion. Like very few games have so clearly and openly given you a character that was going to be your strongest ally unless you really fought the whole game. The game was like, you can romance him eventually in the sequels, you can become his best friend, he's gonna be there with you to the end of the trilogy. Like, this is your guy, right? This is your ride or die. And very few games do it as well as BioWare in their heyday with Garrus. Other characters that really work for icons. You could say this. You could say that. I mentioned iconic characters from games with PC games as Diablo, but I would say, because you don't really get to play them, Deckard Cain falls in this category. Anyone that's played Diablo 3 just loves the voice actor they got for Deckard Cain. So he's like your guy. He's your backup wise person in this. I mean, we're really looking at like the Gandalfs, right?
Yeah, he's like the weak sauce Gandalf.
Yeah,
really.
We're really looking at the Gandalfs, the people that sort of move you along your quests or act. Speaking of, since Mega Man hits all of the points, all of the time on all of these things, specifically in that category, Proto Man. So you can get
Blues if you want to be a dick about it.
What? Blues? Yeah, if you want to be all Japanese about it. With their accurate and more fun way of naming their characters, those jerks.
That's the thing that kind of irritated me about Mega Man, is that like the naming convention is so deliberate in the Japanese version versus we just changed them to make sense. But like, so if you don't know, all the Mega Man characters, main characters for the most part, are all named after something from music. Yeah. Usually, I mean, Mega Man's name is Rockman, so it makes a lot more sense that Roll's name is Roll because you have rock and roll. You know, Proto Man was blues. There was blues. There was jazz.
Yep.
And they named characters after members of Guns N' Roses because apparently the developer loved Guns N' Roses.
Makes sense. I mean, it tracks for the time frame and the musical composition.
But at the point we're mentioning Guns N' Roses, I think it's time to bring it home.
I think it is.
With a couple final thoughts.
Yeah. We're really off track here.
It's okay.
We've really discussed what makes gaming icons, though, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
if you're looking for a gaming icon, you need to look outside of what you like or what your friends like or even what the conventions you go to like. And you need to look inside of pop culture. And so the easy tells are, has a movie been made or a cartoon series or a live action series of this property? Has there been an outcry? Do you see this property outside of video game specific events, right? And making an icon manually is a goal for a lot of studios. But if your studio isn't strong in the design of the icon you're trying to make, it ain't going to work. If you're trying to copy Nintendo and make a kind of a cute, surreal icon, but you're a game studio that historically made simulation games, it's not going to happen. That's not who your identity is. But you could be like, you could, why is my name not why am I not remembering the name of the studio that made Halo?
Bungie.
You could be like Bungie, where you make a guy in the armor that all the other guys are wearing, that never takes off his face and has a fairly short storyline because your game is more about the multiplayer. And that guy can blow all the way up because you knew exactly what you wanted to make and what would be a cool first-person character to play in a multiplayer. You've watched a lot of GoldenEye multiplayer gameplay, and you've been like that, but like better. And so I think every studio needs to play to whatever their strength is. And that's where you get the best icons, is by just playing to Super Meat Boy. Obviously, they wanted to draw this cute little art piece.
Yeah, but something easy to render,
But they just to render and destroy.
Yeah.
But they played to their strengths with that. That informed the whole look of the game. And then that look of the game informed, the game was fun. And then people remember this little cute character they made. Binding of Isaac's the same thing. Game fun. Remember, if he didn't refuse to keep making sequels in the same games universe, that would happen for Sans. But there will only ever be the one game. There'll be more games from that creator, but they won't be in the same.
So I will say that I'm gonna go on a limb and say I will say for me personally, Super Mario Brothers is the most iconic game.
Oh yeah,
because it reaches a point of iconic that very few franchises can boast. I say you have reached ultimate franchise iconic status when fanfic becomes iconic. Most recently, Bowsette.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That is an icon that's not even real. It's a sexy Bowser Peach.
It's a sexy Bowser Peach that was just one guy doing a fun little comic, and then it just blew up. Or one person. I don't know if it was a guy. One person did a fun little art thing because it was because from a thing that's not even in like a main game, and it doesn't. It's like there's the peach mushroom crown thing turns anything into a more peach and or a princess. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah. But what it does do is that is a level of icon. So for me, Mario is the GOAT, I guess, of the greatest of all time.
Not the best character, mind you.
Not the best character. Not even the best character in Mario Brothers, Luigi for life. But Luigi hunts ghosts. Mario just loses the princess constantly. And is never picked in Mario Kart. At me in the comments or reply to the podcast, whatever. If you play Mario in Mario, nobody plays Mario in Mario Kart. Everybody's like, screw that guy. But Luigi, he's got that death stare. He's got that death look. You want to be the one to give that death look.
I play Rosalina because I want to be the prettiest princess.
I played Toad because I started playing at Super Mario Kart and I got real good with him. And in my head, no matter what he sounds like or how he's drawn, Toad is always the Doki Doki Toad from Super Mario Brothers 2, where he's just tiny and yoked. And that's my
Dude,
take.
that mushroom lifts.
He lifts hella. But Mario really hits that that like icon. The reason for me is Super Mario Brothers, which I'm not going to count the original Mario Brothers arcade game, but the Super Mario Brothers comes out in 1985 in the US, right? We are now in 2020, which means that is a solid 35 years old, which means that the children, let's just put an easy number on it. Let's say you're 8 and you get to play Super Mario Brothers in 1985, 1986. That means 15 years after that, or we'll even be nice and say 20 years after that, you're 28. Maybe you're having kids. That kid is able to access Mario and everything like that. That was in 2005. It's now 2015, or it's now 2020, 15 years after that. I'm 100% positive in 10, 15 years from now, that kid who is a second generation Mario fan will have their third generation Mario fan. Nintendo is going nowhere with that franchise. It is always going to be an icon, even if they stop having consoles, which doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. But Mario will arguably be the ambassador of what video games are for perpetuity. Like
Absolutely.
It'll be one of the icons of, it's like, what are video games? Well, you know what Mario Brothers is? Yeah, of course I know what Mario Brothers is. All right.
Yeah, it's like, again, not the greatest character of all time, potentially a monstrous sociopath who murdered half the Mushroom Kingdom in his attempt to find coins. Just saying, every block was a sentient person. Look at the damn instruction manual. He killed so many people.
Blocks, so many people. Oh, Mario.
Yeah, that changes that shit, doesn't it? You're going to play Mario next time, you're going to be like, oh my god, I just killed a person.
That's why I'm Team Luigi. That's why I'm Team Luigi, right out there. Plus, John Leguizamo plays Luigi in the movie. And
one of the only great parts of that movie.
John Leguizamo as a not Italian man that looks like he could have been Bob Hoskins' son at the time of that movie.
It didn't even put on airs that he was going to try to pretend he was Italian.
Nope.
He just was John Leguizamo.
And you know what? It worked. It was the best part of the movie. It was the only good part of the movie beside the two henchmen that were chasing them that were idiots. That then became smart. That's a terrible part of the movie. Anyway, icons. Mario Brothers wins, hands down. Even though Tetris is the most identifiable game globally.
That's fair.
I want to put in some fun facts. You can cut these out. I'm just going to put them in because I looked them up. All right, gaming industry back in 1985, adjusted for inflation, the inflation rate of around 2013, 2014, was making in the realm of $30 to $40 billion. That seems like a lot. And it was. Gaming industry in 2017 made $110 billion.
Jeez.
$110 billion. That is 2.5 times nearly, again, as much as it did at the height of the Nintendo era. At the height of the arcade. So its best year, like old time, is in the height of the arcade era. It was estimated to make nearly $60 billion. So for all of us that live kind of from a home console and home PC gaming forward, in the mid-'80s onward, in the late 70s, early 80s, like before Atari died and arcades began to go southward, it was just as big as gaming was through the 90s, through the early aughts, bigger in many years. And it only happened until the 360 generation. The Xbox 360 gen was the first to kind of consistently overtake that number and keep building on it. The most identifiable game, and game is Tetris. The most identifiable game character is Mario. The most identifiable song is the Tetris theme song.
Yep.
However, because Mario's theme has gently changed over time enough, if you take all of the Mario main themes, they're very identifiable, but if you play the Zelda main theme from Zelda 1, it is statistically proven that anyone, including people that have not played overworld theme from Legend of Zelda, who've not played any of the Nintendo or Super Nintendo Zeldas, knows what that theme is from instantly. So Zelda's actually got the second most identifiable song theme, which is crazy. It's also the third most identifiable game on the list. And this was done on a study of something like 75,000 people across the globe did this very deliberate, very directed study, and that's how they got it. So there you go. There's your thing. So your icons are the house that Nintendo built, basically, and now Sonic, because apparently the movie's not garbage. Good job.
I like that we get to end on people learning something, so that's good.
Yeah, I've got facts.
All right, well, I appreciate everybody sticking around and listening to the show. I had a lot of fun. Our first episode with you as my new co-host. This is going to be a blast. So that's about it.
We're just because some of these people will watch it on YouTube, where can they find this if they just want to listen to the audio? And for some reason, they don't understand how tabs works. Where can they follow the podcast if they don't want to look at our glorious
therollesweplay.podbean.com.
Yep.
You can also look us up on Facebook and all that good stuff. And I always link I'll link the YouTubes. I'll link all the things. There'll be so many links.
And I will, of course, respectively on the YouTube side of things, link all the things. Bi-weekly? Are we doing this every 2 weeks? Do we know?
You will know by the next couple episodes how often this will come out.
Yeah, we'll find out with the cadence.
We'll figure it out. I think we're at the point right now where we're just figuring things out.
Yeah. Some amount of weeks later.
Some amount of weeks.
1 to 2
weeks from now, there will be more content.
More content. We'll find out. Follow it on Dying of Exposure. If you hate podcasts for some reason, you can if you want to just visually see us while we talk.
That's true.
And you can follow all this stuff at Dying of Exposure on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then dyingofexposure.com or Dying of Exposure on YouTube, because we just slid enough subscribers in to get that custom YouTube extension.
Nice.
And in each episode, we'll link to this. That's. I don't have anything else to plug for this. If you're interested in other video game content, I don't know what's on Dying Exposure right now. If you're in other Chimera Sucks at the Nuzlocke run of Pokemon Shield, and if you're interested in other role-playing content, that will come out on probably the description, because I will talk to Ron about that after this episode is done.
Alrighty. Well, that's it. I am Ron for Steve Kelsey. I'll play myself out.